I personally even experienced watching public execution. I was only 11. The policeman came from, so the first bullets it went into the eyes. The second 3 bullets went into the belly button, while the third was on knee.
When I was 9 years old, I saw my friend's mother publicly executed. Her crime, watching a Hollywood movie.
Today, government collapsed in less than 2 days by the protest of particular age group people because they felt suppressed and corruption in the country. But in the North Korea, why people are living from years and years under an extreme dictatorship? Why do they never revolt? Even after knowing that the biggest colony, monarchy and dictatorships have been overthrown by the people. Most importantly, even in 2026, so-called powerful countries and international organizations who do advocacy for human rights, why do they shut their mouth when it comes to North Korea, and even they don't dare to speak even if there is a public and mass executions? And the final question, can North Korea ever gain democracy? Before 1945, there was no North Korea. Yes, you heard it right. Both North Korea and South Korea was a single state called Korean Peninsula. Back in 20th century, Japanese Empire was one of the most powerful empire in Asia. And most of the country nearby Japan were colonized. In 1905, Japan eyed on this Korean peninsula, and by 1910, this Korean peninsula was under control of Japanese Empire. After this, various movements and protests were seen in this peninsula by the Korean people, but were insignificant in front of this mighty Japanese Empire. But in 1945, something happened that has never happened before in the history of mankind.
On 6th August 1945, American bomber Enola Gay dropped an atomic bomb on the Japanese city of Hiroshima.
A short time ago, an American airplane dropped one bomb on Hiroshima.
Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds.
What next? Japan surrendered, and finally on 15th August 1945, Korea got independence. US proposed dividing this Korean peninsula into 2 occupation zones, the US zone and the Soviet zone. David Dean Rusk, the US Secretary of State, and Charles Bonsfield III, a military commander of United States, suggested 38th parallel as a dividing line. 38th parallel is nothing but a line of latitude. 38th means 38th degree north of the equator. Now you must be wondering, why do they suggested being so specific 38th? Well, the reason behind this is very simple. 38th parallel was putting Seoul, the current capital city of South Korea, under US control. Soviet accepted their proposals and agreed to divide the Korea. The Korean peninsula was divided into 2 occupation zones. The northern half of the peninsula was occupied by Soviet and the southern by the United States. For the facilitation between Soviet and North Korea, Provisional People Committee was established and Kim Il-sung was selected as a chairman. Why Kim Il-sung? It is because during the imperialism, Kim Il-sung has fought many guerrilla wars and has become prominent among the communist leaders. 3 years later, on 9 September 1948, the Democratic People's Republic of Korea (DPRK) was established in the north. Kim Il-sung became premier, the supreme leader of North Korea. So till now, everything looks like fine. People were happy, country got independence, and an individual who was fighting for years and years against the Japanese Empire became their leader. But they were unaware of the fact that in upcoming few years, they and their upcoming generation will be in such a darkness from which it will be almost impossible to escape even in 2026. Being supreme leader, instead of building economy, system and constitution in the country, he thrown people and resources into another war for reunification, the Korean War. From the north, with the support of Soviet, war started to south with the US military on 25th June 1950 and continued for 3 years till 27 July 1953.
The Korean War was the first example of the Cold War turning hot.
Bombs away.
Both halves of the peninsula suffered extremely. Kim, who initiated the war, lost almost everything. The destruction was so big that American general who was in charge for bombing from the Far East reported that there are no more targets left in the North Korea because everything is destroyed. In total, 1 million military, 2 to 3 million civilians lost their life during this war from both sides. North Korea lost its populations almost by 10%. Every major industry, agricultural tools and plants were destroyed. North Korea gone totally blank. But during this war and under its shade, something more significant was happening. The friends who had fought guerrilla wars along with the Kim was his biggest threat. So he started to eliminate them during the war. No one was noticing, and if someone did, no one cared because the country was in war. By the end of 1950s, Kim eliminated all major domestic opponents, consolidated power and fashioned towards totalitarian system. And what was the outcome? Well, the division line remained same with 38th parallel. So from normal people point of view, like you and me, it was complete failure, right? But you know how Kim and its media cited Korean War as a big victory. Victory in the sense that we are able to keep our boundary lines safe without making it clear that it was not the US military who initiated the war but the Kim for reunification. Before people could understand this political mess, Kim introduced another masterstroke, Juche. In politics, it is said that when nothing works, nationalism does. Juche was the same. An ideology which says a country will prosper once it becomes self-reliant by achieving economical, political and military independence. Until now, in North Korean politics, there was a great influence of Soviet, aid for the economy and military support. So in all aspects, North Korea was dependent upon the Soviet and some other communist group. From here, propaganda started. Kim and his media started to feel pride for their leader and hate towards other countries. For example, Japan and USA is our biggest enemy, one who colonized us and another who killed our people. South Korea is just a puppet of a US. Now he presented himself as a cult personality. I'm the one who will save and protect and rest our enemy. The classic example is when he established a school for the orphans who lost their parents during the Korean War, the Mangwende Revolutionary School. The real game of indoctrination and brainwashing started. Young people who lost their parents and families member had already intense hate towards South, US and Japan. The indoctrination and brainwashing continued for a significant period of time. Kim exactly knew that these are the people who will rebel against me tomorrow. So they are taught to be devoted towards Kim Il-sung. After complete devotion and to solve the problem of future rebellions, Kim filled all top leadership positions with the graduates from Mangwende Revolutionary School. Now Kim Il-sung has the most loyal citizens working at the top positions of every sector with complete devotion. The concept of Juche also started showing results. North Korea expanded the agricultural production, reduced the number of people required to work on the field. They got shifted to expand the industrial sector. The annual growth rate was roughly around 6% and economically doing far better than the South Korea. But in 1961, Sino-Soviet split started.
What about this conflict between Russia and China? Buck has this happen.
And the difference between the Communist Party of the Soviet Union and the Communist Party of China is...
Sino-Soviet split was a conflict between People's Republic of China, PRC, and Union Soviet, USSR. Both were good allies of North Korea. The conflict brought three biggest outcomes, one in favor and two challenges. The good part was, to a large extent, Kim got political independence from the influence of both USSR and PRC, but with two critical challenges. First, industrial development, agricultural productions and other economic development which were facing lost its fund to be continued. Second, security. Now North Korea couldn't rely completely either on China or USSR for its security. So until now the emphasis was on economic independence. Now it shifted to military independence. Kim brought a strategy to arm the entire population and build extensive and expensive underground military facilities, which required a greater share of country's scarce resources. Economic growth slowed down. But he realized something big which scares even world today. He realized that if tomorrow American military attacks on ground, he cannot survive for long. Previously, there was support of Soviet. So he started his efforts towards nuclear capacity. International organizations and other countries will try to stop. So in order to block the information, he deployed secret police. Secret police were the graduates from the same Mangwende Revolutionary School. They will live like a normal people in the society but monitor the every activity. Till now, he has gained a complete level of totalitarian. in which every sector is controlled and every citizen is eyed on. Till late 1960s, the power was at such a level that even Mao and Stalin has never achieved. On 8th July 1994, Kim Il-sung died of heart attack, almost after 34 hours. Radio Pyongyang reported.
Kim had died from stroke. His son Kim Jong-il announced as North Korea's next leader with the title of the Great Successor.
The international community and people were optimistic of the positive change, but the situation got worse. In 1991, Soviet collapsed. No more free aid, no more subsidized oil and trade. The economy started to creep and famine and starvation became the biggest challenge. This forced North Korea to sign an agreed framework in 1994 for free aids. In return, North Korea will freeze plutonium production. But this was not the truth. Kim Jong-il military first policy and father dream of nuclear capacity must be fulfilled. So, resources kept going for the military and secret uranium enrichment. Result, 600,000 to 1 million people lost their lives due to starvations by 1998. In 2002, the agreement collapsed, accusing North Korea for uranium enrichment. What next? On October 9, 2006, North Korea tested its first underground nuclear. Sanctions and criticism from other countries and international organizations flooded, but the test continued in 2009 and 2010. On 19 December 2011, the report came from the Central Korean television that
Kim Jong-il died of heart attack, and his son Kim Jong unannounced as the next leader.
the grandson gone even one step ahead and executed his own uncle Jang Song-taek, considering him as a rival, and tested another nuclear in 2013. But economy improved as the ties with Russia improved. For example, GDP grew by 3.1% in 2023 as Russia did armed deal with North Korea. And North Korea military will fight against Ukraine in Russia-Ukraine war, and in return, North Korea will get oil and technology.
The Russian President Vladimir Putin has thanked the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un for providing troops to help Russia fight Ukraine.
Does this GDP growth brings any impact on the normal people living in North Korea? Well, not really. Inequality still persists. Elites enjoy the exotic resources while normal people are still dying of starvation.
We are thinking every single second is, I'm hungry. How do I eat? My grandmother died from malnutrition. My uncle died from starvation.
And I have seen many kids died of starvation on the streets.
This was the entire political history of North Korea. If this is very clear to you, let's get back to our questions. Why do the people of North Korea do not rebel? After hearing this question, the first general answer that comes in our mind is the people of the North Korea could not fight against the strong military. But if we look back to the history, the biggest colonial power, monarchy and dictatorship has been overthrown by the people. So why not in North Korea? It is because the reason go far beyond from just military. At this time, people living in North Korea do not know what the democracy or freedom looks like. Here is why.
To me, where I did not even know that I was slave. We don't know the concept of human rights. We don't know the concept of freedom. And that's how they can control our thinking.
Today, it is almost impossible for the people living in North Korea to go against the government. Each and every activity is eyed on. Each moment and sound is tracked by the officers and now technology.
Told me as younger was, don't even whisper, because the birds and mice could hear you. When I was 4 years old, I was warned by my mother not to even whisper. The birds and mice couldn't hear me.
It has the most strict censorship anywhere in the world. All the media is state controlled. There is no internet access except some elite personalities. For the general people, there is an internet called Kyangmyong, which contains only government approved information. No one dare to do it alone because it will lead to nothing. And there is no way of mass protest to be coordinated because of the non-existence of the platform like Twitter, now X, and other way to convey message publicly, communicate or coordinate. For example, in Nepal, social media trend started against corruptions, and that led to such a big protest that within 28 hours, government collapsed and Prime Minister resigned.
And of course you have no phones. And even there are available few phones, those are the elite who can use, but you are only allowed to call within the country and messages and calls are tapped. There is no internet, no YouTube, no Facebook, no Zoom.
Things doesn't stop here. Another reason is a brutal and a family punishment. A group of friends were executed publicly. You know what was their mistake? Listening to a South Korean pop music and watching foreign dramas. This is how people are punished publicly in order to inculcate extreme fear. So if anyone found doing any rebellion activities or anything offensive, not only he or she will be punished, but his entire family and maybe 3 generations under 3 generation punishment policy.
Expressing doubt about the greatness of the regime can get 3 generations of a family imprisoned, or executed.
So no father or mother dare to do any act which will sentence their son and daughter into prison camps and even generation to come. So reveling is a far way. No one even dare to do any suspicious act. The most unfortunate thing is today people living there do not want democracy because they do not know what the freedom is. Because of the state effort to the relentless brainwashing and indoctrination from their childhood. Every individual from their childhood and from their primary education taught to be how to be loyal citizens. Now you may be wondering what's wrong if a state is teaching their citizens to be a loyal citizen. Well, the loyalty is not for the country but towards the Kim family. While primary education, every individual has to sing about their supreme leaders. Sang Jeon, a lady who escaped from the North Korea, said that how constantly she had been taught about Kim Jong-il and his hard work. He works so hard that he sleeps in the car and eats just rice balls. On his desk there are piles and piles of the reports that need to be read and approved. He worked that hard for us, the people. But it is not this shit. The things get extreme when Kim are presented as a divine being. Yes, you heard it right. It revolves around Kim Il-sung, portrayed as anti-Japanese revolutionary hero and founding father who remains North Korea's eternal president after more than 3 decades of his death. His body in the museum still can hear when the people visit there. According to the Korean myth, his son Kim Jong-il was born on a sacred mountain under a bright star at night. In reality, he was born in Siberia. Just imagine which level of cognitive power of North Korean people has been killed. Their whole schooling is based on a simple principle. We are one nation, so you cannot rebel against your father who protect us from the external enemy. You cannot go against government, so it is important to stick together. Second, why the whole world is sitting just being a spectators, especially so-called powerful international organizations and countries. In order to understand this, firstly we have to understand how a country is punished for its evil or wrong deeds. Generally, countries and international organizations punishes any country by imposing economic sanctions or putting that country into isolation. For example, when Russia-Ukraine war started, US imposed economic sanctions by not buying a Russian oil and even requested other countries to do the same. But in case of North Korea, economic sanction is not possible. North Korea is a closed economy. It does not do much international trade except its neighbor and allies China and Russia. Okay, economically it is not possible. What about the physical and political intervention? Well, it is the war that every country and organization wants to avoid. Due to its nuclear capabilities, North Korea can ruin the peace of an entire world in a moment. Most importantly, why UN fails when there is a people dying of starvation? There is a crime against humanity while the state is busy testing nuclear one after another. For this, firstly, we have to understand the UN Charter Article 27, which states that UN cannot intervene in matters which are essentially within the domestic jurisdiction of any state. The principle of respecting the sovereignty of its member states. So UN cannot do anything until and unless there is a civil war in the country. And then there is a geopolitics. We know North Korea is the biggest trade partner of China. China sees North Korea as a buffer against US. So China never want a failure of North Korean regime, because if that happens, there is a chance of unification of both Korea. And US will have the biggest influence in this region, so Dragons never wants that. So even left with condemning and sanctions on the arms deal, scientific corporations, luxury goods, and compliance with the International Criminal Court (ICC). But all these significant actions are binding down by Security Councils, which are blocked by Russia and China veto. So if you want to know in detail how UN works and why it look paralyzed in so many situations, you can watch my this video. There will be link in the description. For example, prisoners are dying of ill treatment, overwork and malnutrition. So UN decided to call this situation to International Criminal Court (ICC). But this situation need to be referred by Security Council, which get blocked by Russia and China. Third and final question, can North Korea gain democracy? Well, no one knows the future. If you look back to the history, the biggest colonial power, the biggest monarchy and the biggest dictatorship has been overthrown by the people after the rules of hundreds of years. So why not North Korea? First possibility, if the future ruling leader decide himself or herself to end the totalitarian. For example, after the death of Kim Jong-un, his daughter, the most likely successor, Kim Joo-il.
Kim Jong-un arrived in Beijing to attend the military parade. We told you all about it. But could there be another reason for his rare visit? Like maybe the introduction of his potential successor? Because accompanying Kim on this visit is his daughter, Kim Joo-il.
Decide to change the ruling style. or if any other future leader will do, then the things can change. Second possibilities. We all know North Korea is one of the poorest countries. Famine and starvation always persist. So tomorrow, if the economic collapse so badly that North Korea will have no option apart from seeking the help from international organizations and other countries, then the international organization and other countries can put some conditions. But for this, Russia and China need to unite and go against the North Korea, which looks almost impossible. We know this man and we say there is a problem because of him, his father and his grandfather ruling style. But it is not possible that every sector is being scrutinized by this man. There is his loyalists and closed ones to whom he have handed over the important sector of the country. So tomorrow, if all those people collaborate, including the military top officials, to overthrow this dynasty ruling system, then the political landscape of North Korea can change. According to you, which holds the highest possibility? Comment down below. I will see you in the next.